Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So, I know this was an impromptu live. I haven't seen anybody in the chat yet, though it shows we got 3 viewers. And just this is something that's been a while since we talked about. So I want to go into it, because I think it's important to look at all the evidence that we have from every source available. And it's really fascinating to me to see when science is bearing out what has been passed along, well, through the mystery traditions, through the hidden things like the quote-unquote the occult, things that were whispered in inner circles or only taught to initiates. Mercy Anonymous, #1 in the house. D. Jackson, there you go. Amy, good to see you guys. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, you guys. It's so great to see everybody. This is good. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be curious. It's going to be eye-opening. And even if it's not that, we'll at least try to make it entertaining.
We will definitely try to do that, guys. There's so much to look at. And as I've shared with you guys, and hey there, Knowledge 2020, and hey there, Christine MacArthur. Good to see you guys. I hope the weather's beautiful wherever you guys are, and everybody's safe and healthy and happy.
Yes, that's definitely really important that we're all safe and healthy and as happy as we could possibly be, because that matters when it comes to your whole body, your whole being. Our mood matters.
Most definitely. And we just got done working on one of our beloved brothers, and he had an amazing experience, and hopefully he'll be in here as well to join us. Hey there, Nathan. Hey there, Joel. Hey there, Jeff. Joffrey, what's up, brother? Aw, Mercy says she's been looking forward to us all day.
Aww.
So, I guess it's just not quite the same when there's a video that goes up as opposed to a live.
That's what I keep hearing. I guess you guys we really love you guys. We do look forward to this too. We're sorry we've been a little bit not so steady. We've been pretty busy.
Yeah, we've been busy with a lot of things, the homestead, and also just a lot of people that need some work as far as, processing things. There's, before we get into this topic, there's definitely a lot of people having run-ins with entities, with dark energies, attachments, things like that. It seems to be getting more and more common, as we have Fatonia from Northern California, and we're hoping to be in Northern California in hopefully a couple months. If all goes well, for maybe a long weekend, 3-4 days anyway. We hope to get out that way if everything allows, including the law. Deej is in the house. Hey there, Doug.
He says, got pallets? Yes, we do.
Oh, we got pallets. We just got like another 20, and just trying to decide what is next, because the sun is getting hotter and hotter, and we need some quick shelter. And so, it's like, what do you do next? Do you plant more stuff? Do I finish with the trellises, so everything can thrive? Do we get the chicken coop ready? Because the chickens are in the hands of a family member, and they're watching them, little babies right now. So the chickens are waiting on us. And then I think I'm going to build a lean-to, guys. Have you guys seen lean-tos? I used to go camping in Vermont and New Hampshire, and there was a lot of lean-tos up there, just out in the trail. And you could, hike up the mountain, and if nobody was in one, you could just stake your claim and stay in that one for, a few nights. I think they'll let you stay a week at a time. And Deej sent plans for those. There you go. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. And just to get us a little bit more shade cover, as we got so much going on.
Yeah, I guess this is a time where you have to sit down and think and kind of prioritize things, because when you need everything at once, well, something has to take a turn.
Nathan says, get your water. Yeah, we're working with the well guy on that. We only have a couple of choices. One guy's half the price of the other, but he's so backlogged that he's already letting us know it's going to be probably 6 to 8 weeks. So that's all we could do with people, and it's high in demand. And the desert, you need water, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know that someone was really nice and they suggested that we collect water. And I said, well, we don't get enough rain. And they said, oh, phooey, it just depends on how much you put out on the ground. Like, how big is your basin? Well, even if the basin was the entire size of the land we are on, it still wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, typically about 6 inches a year is average. So Ricky asked how deep. He said about 175 feet is what he's thinking, to 225, 175, 225. There's some big farms that have gone 300, and there's plenty of water down there. So, Jeffrey Parks. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's so much going on with that whole thing there, too. So what I wanted to share with you guys is also, one of the reasons why I think I feel, fairly convinced about certain things as far as the way the universe works is because it comes from multiple sources and then just my own experiences as well. And, I've talked to you about the Eastern traditions, and in Hinduism and Buddhism, they do view it as if we are basically, especially Buddhism, we're in basically a holograph. When you get down to it, as Buddha said, he came to the great realization, wow, this is all an illusion, and then also the separateness is an illusion as well. It's in other traditions as well, and it is in the mystery traditions as we were talking about. We were talking, things like the Kabbalah and Hermeticism as well, the Western mystery tradition. And there's so many, I spent so many years studying all that, so many years. Most of my 20s and 30s, I was like deep into that. And also, studying the Golden Dawn, actually doing rituals, not just reading about things. Donald Tyson is a author who has written many books, including one called Tetragrammaton, The Keys to the Enochian Magic. And he said, he'll come right out and say, I'm a theoretical magician. I don't actually try to do anything. But, I have to have the experience. So that's just me. So I've done things. I never called up demons because I wouldn't. Why would I want to call in something that's negative? God, no. Although I do think there are demons, and I think there are those things which we would call angels. And if we were going to actually, term them more appropriately, we would just say a higher density being. From a much higher realm than we are, much higher vibrational frequency, much closer to source than us. But all these things are spoken of plainly in the mystery traditions, of which, for so long you had to be an initiate. Somebody had to bring you in. And, you'd have to go through a ceremony. One of the traditional ones is being blindfolded with your hands tied behind your back naked and feeling a sharp sword at your chest. And they tell you, it's better that you should fall on the sword right now than spill the beans and tell our secrets, because that's what's going to happen to you. And, so I've explored all those things, as well as, and I was going to talk about egregores, because we can, it's in us. We are co-creators with Prime Creator. So we can create life even without procreating. We don't have to procreate to create. We could create with our minds. We could create with the life force, the chi, the ki, the prana, the vril, the Holy Spirit that's all around us. And it's just a matter of knowing how you can manipulate things with your mind. You have to know you can. That's the difference. As Jesus said, if you really had the faith, you could move the mountain. Even if you were just a little mustard seed, you could do it. And it's just a matter of belief. A woman came up and touched him when he wasn't looking, and he felt the energy pulled out of him, right? Because it was the life force that was healing people, because he was an amazing conductor of the life force. He knew how to draw and channel energy. which is what energy workers do. That's what we do. And, like working on our dear friend, everywhere I was focusing, he could feel it,
It's in there too, under source.
There he is, source RXE. So, yeah, we just worked up and on him, and, he was feeling everything everywhere we were. And, like we were saying, Jesus, my view of Jesus is he was a great master. I view him as an ascended master. I view him also as the template for which we are all to be going into the next age, even though, the symbol of Christians in this age has been the fish, the Piscean age. We're going into Aquarius. What it is, it's the Christ consciousness, which we all can achieve. It's just a matter of will, focus, intention, and knowing.
And, with a lot of us, too, there's also a lot of healing that might need to be done, too, because, it seems like specifically with empaths, we're not in a world where things have been super easy for us. It's been quite difficult. The system that's set up for empaths is not one that is emotional friendly, which can leave scars and traumas, and that's why it's so important to work through those. Try to and learn to let those things go so you can be even stronger and better, and it's just a wonderful thing.
Mercy Anonymous says, one time I had a boyfriend that could see my creepy shadow guys and it drove him insane. Attachments, if you could see them, a lot of times, well, they vary. Sometimes they're very, very human. Other times they could be really pretty ugly, like shadow beings, those black beings with the glowing red eyes. I've seen those many times in the past. It's been a long time since I've seen one. It's just a matter of confidence because, we have source in us, so they'll flee when we're strong, and we know we're strong. And that's part of this. So there's 3 PDFs that I pulled up, and I want you guys to go through them all for homework. Just kidding. The Holographic Universe. These are books that can really enlighten you. Really enlighten you into how things really, really work. And this is by Michael Talbot. This is a great, great book. And this is a book I read, 20, 30 years ago, and reread it several times. And just to go over the contents, the brain as a hologram, the cosmos as a hologram, and then the holographic model and psychology, and I Sing the Body Holographic, a pocket full of miracles, seeing hoyographically, time out of mind, traveling in the super hologram, and return to the dream time, because we are returning to the dream time right now. And so one of the reasons too that people are having so many experiences where there's people that are getting scratched by dark entities on a regular basis, getting attacked by dark entities. I got a message today from somebody that basically said they detected something in the room, and it looked at them and it made their heart feel painful. That's something that's happening time and time again now. And it's because we are going from 3D up into 4D. And the first part of 4D is what's called the lower astral realm. And, when you have nightmares and things of the sort, well, you're in the lower astral realm. So you're in that part of 4D. That's where all the negative astral creatures hang out. And, Cindy's shaking her head.
I know. They like to hang around, and I think there's something about about them being around and heart pain too. I think they can get into your field and they can disrupt that field. So, and that can cause problems on the 3D body.
Yeah, so Mercy Anonymous had one that looked literally like a reaper. You find that a lot of the classic images of nightmares and stuff, of legends, that is what they look like. That's where it comes from. And Lauren says, could this be affecting sleep patterns? Oh, most definitely. This is part of it. So like the Australian or Aboriginals will tell you we are going back to dream time. That's because dream time is where we are when we're in 4D in the astral. And the lower astral is where your hells are, where your dark energies are. Then you get up to the mid astral, which is maybe more of a mix like what we have here. There's kind of good and bad. And then as you start to go up into the upper astral, that's where the heavens are. And, that's where you have the beautiful places with more benevolent beings hanging out. And so it's so important for us to maintain high vibrations. Honestly, if we do expect nothing but punishment, judgment, and the like, that's what we're going to get. Because it's really all about expectation, and we are creating our own reality the whole time as we go.
We are. And, I don't know how many of you have listened to or read about Dr. Emoto. And he talks about the story of water and how water can hold a vibration of, well, if you're feeling love or saying the word love, then it makes that love pattern. So he took this water and he taped the word love on the water, then he flash froze it and he took pictures, and he realized that it was taking a picture of a beautiful snowflake. And then he would use the word like hate, and he taped that on the jar and take pictures of it. And then he realized that when he took pictures, it would make a really ugly picture. So that's what's going on in our bodies. Our bodies are made up of a lot of water. So it really matters what our intention is.
Most definitely. And so Spring Heel Max says, someone mentioned sigils being portals, and it mentions also crop circles. A lot of the crop circles, the ones that are legit, are made by these tiny silver drones that are, they come from ET presence. So they are messages, and messages mostly from the benevolent ones, I feel, to us. And it's a way for them to communicate to us and kind of give us a clue without interfering with our free will. And sigils can be portals, most definitely. As I shared with you guys, every place I've lived going back, like 20-something years, I put up sigils of the archangels, and around the whole house or in just the bedroom. And it really does keep out the darker energies. And it's just a matter of, charging them here and there with energy and sending intention in. And because, the archangels are real beings as well. They are definitely real powers. They're forces of nature on a very high level, high frequency, very close to source, and super powerful. So most definitely they will work to keep out dark stuff.
Yeah, but I've learned in the past, though, you really need to ask. You need to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get, because in a way it's like giving them permission or making a phone call. They have to have that line to get into your energy field to help you.
Yeah, so, Dana woke up at 3:40 a.m. A lot of people are waking up in that range, 2 to 4 a.m. is real common. And, a lot of people are having trouble sleeping right now. I've been sleeping better than I was. I was having a problem a while ago, but I think also it's because we're just kind of a little more physically tired, from working, which is always good, well, always good. So the universe is a hologram. And so there's reasons why when we look at nature, everything is mathematical. It's all mathematics, and it's all over nature. And it's also fractal. There is a reflection. So there's an old, occult axiom, as above, so below. And it's very true. As within, so without. It's because it's the pattern under which this whole hologram is built. And as Buddha said, ultimately it's truly all an illusion. The only thing that's really real is consciousness itself. Consciousness is the most real thing that there is.
I agree, and I do believe everything's a pattern, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and that pattern is in nature. It's in everything. For instance, and let me just hand this mic to Cindy.
I know that's what I've been using lately when I do the tunings, is I'm using a new pattern. It doesn't make a noise, it makes a pattern. So it kind of repatterns the body, and they realize that it does cut through the traumas better than the other tuning forks, and it is interesting too how the tuning forks do help the biofield. But here we go. Look at this.
I mean, the whole body is encased in an ear, a single ear. And it's not just the ear. It's the same thing with the feet. and the same thing on our hands. And this is part of the fractal nature. Everything is interconnected. So you have these points, and these are acupuncture points, acupuncture, acupressure, and they go to all the different organs. It's again another sign to us that everything is fractal. And a fractal is that the parts contain the essence of the whole. And this even works on the other levels. So like we were saying before, and we have said, and I'm not sure if you guys have heard me say it, but DNA is not just in the physical body. It also extends outwards into the etheric and into the other bodies as well. So it's pretty fascinating to think about that. We have many different energy bodies. Barbara Brennan, who is one of the more gifted psychics, she could see, I think, about 14 or 15 layers to the human energy body. And this is Barbara Brennan. And she's written some great books, really good books, and also about how the spirit guides will come to us as we work on people, so we can see the different layers to the aura. And there's so many layers to it. And again, it's all basically still fractal in nature, and it's all following the sacred science, because there is a sacred science to all this. And so when we look at chakras, chakras look like little tornadoes. And when we see, this is one of the books that was really good, Hands of Light. When we look at the chakras, they look like tornadoes. We have tornadoes in nature as well, these whirling vortices. We see dust devils all the time, and they feel like air elementals.
They do. They feel like entities. They're just kicking up their heels.
Yeah, and then we have hurricanes as well. And so tremendous pullers in of energy. So I wanted to share this with you. This is a great book, and I would encourage people to go through it. And it might change your mind as to what the universe truly is if you haven't been exposed to something like that. And this is another great book, Paul Davies, The Mind of God. And it's talking about quantum physics as well, and how, again, everything is consciousness. Everything is consciousness, and we are truly living in the mind of God. And here's some notes on the Kabbalah, because when we go into Hebrew mysticism, it's understood. And it's the same thing with Gnosticism, talks about this plainly in certain Gnostic texts, in Hermeticism as well. And then out in the East, we find these teachings in yoga. And, lately I've been going to sleep. I'll read some of the Yoga Sutras and just ponder them. And again, ultimately, everything is mind stuff. Consciousness comes before everything and anything. Everything emanates out of consciousness. This physical reality is it's a construct of consciousness.
It is, and it's a pattern, and it's a continuous pattern, and it's, goes over and over and over. And these are things I wish that they would teach in school about how important our energy body is, because our energy body, it goes to, and it can affect the 3D body, and depending on your energetic pattern, it can cause you problems, cause you aches, cause you pains if you've had certain traumas that are standing in the energy field. So this is just stuff that should be taught in kindergarten, I think.
I agree. Yeah, as Ricky says, fractals prove God is real to the mathematically perfect. Yeah, and so a lot of times people can't perceive of there being a God other than the way they were taught of God being. The man on the cloud, with the harp and all, and or the wrathful, vengeful God, or the judgment day God, and all that. But most definitely there is a divine architect to all this. And that's how it's referred to in the Masonic lodges, of which, I don't think that they all started out evil. And I think really when you get down to it, most people going into a lodge think they're doing something good, and they don't really learn any of the big stuff until they're way, way, way up there. And again, it's another example of where something that starts out as good is corrupted by the dark side, which so much of it has been. Because we could look at the Bible and we could see a lot of references to Kundalini, to chakras, to consciousness, to awaken in the pineal gland. I mean, it's all there in the Bible for anybody that wants to look for that instead of taking things at a literal face value. And again, though, Christ, spoke in parables to the masses because that was what all they were going to be able to get. They could just relate to stories. Most of the people that he was talking to in that time were not educated at all. Not educated at all. And so he spoke in stories to them. But to the inner circle, he taught the secrets. And these are the secrets that are taught to the inner circles.
Which, I think should be a little more common knowledge. I know that there are some things about information that could be damaging. So some of it, I guess, should be kept tucked away. Because sometimes once you learn something, you can't really unlearn it.
Exactly. Exactly. So all fascinating things. And here we see what ancient secrets lie within the flower of life. And it's the perfect example of what we're talking about. And we could also see it in the tree of life, in the Kabbalah as well. The shifting of consciousness and how things just expand in a geometric progression ever outwards. A flower of life is a name for a geometric figure composed of 7 or more evenly spaced overlapping circles. This figure, used as a decorative motif ever since ancient times, forms a flower-like pattern with symmetrical structures of a hexagon. And the hexagon is symbolic of many different things. For one, it could stand for Saturn. It could also stand for the Merkaba if you're looking at a Merkaba on a flat plane, as opposed to in 3D where it's a dodecahedron. So the flower of life has been known to philosophers, architects, and artists all around the world since ancient times. Pagans consider it to be sacred geometry. And again, pagans, well, what's a pagan? Well, it's those that are basically country folk is what it boiled down to. Those of the hearth. So containing ancient religious value, depicting the fundamental forms of space and time. For many, this symbol is a visual representation of the interconnectedness of life. So anybody that's done psilocybin, DMT, ayahuasca, things like that, you'll see these patterns. These patterns will be right there for you to see. And, in some cases, it might actually make you break out laughing.
It might.
Yeah. Yeah, it could. Just to share with you, not that I've ever experienced anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, when you see the underlying pattern of reality and consciousness and the fact that we are living in a divine matrix, and it's this interconnected web which extends out everywhere to infinity, and talk about expanding your consciousness. It's mind-blowing to see exactly what it is, and it's created by consciousness for consciousness to explore.
Isn't that pretty amazing? I think that's just the most beautiful thing, and they keep it from us. It's horrible.
Well, I mean, our reality has been absolutely twisted, and so we have to recognize what has gone on and how our reality's been hijacked by these darker forces that don't want us to see the benevolence of creation that's out there. Because, creation is benevolent ultimately. And we are consciousness. You can't create or destroy energy. It just simply changes form. So it's the same thing with us. Worn out bodies are shed by the dweller, just as worn out garments are thrown away by the user. Bhagavad Gita. And it's so true. And that should set you free.
It should, but I do believe that there's a lot of us who have traumas in our lives that keep us from being set free. But that's why we're here together, to help each other kind of wiggle loose from our chains.
And we see Da Vinci used it in his paintings, and there's been a lot of artists that have done that as well. And it's all part of ancient alchemy. And you have the 5 platonic solids, all found within the flower of life, and that's the tetrahedron, the cube, the octahedron, dodecahedron, and the icosahedron. as we see those there. And then we see the tree of life representation. And it's a beautiful thing, and I hope that in our lifetime we're able to go back to the original plan for this creation and get out of this tangled dark web that we have been in.
Well, yeah, I mean, this stuff that hurts us anyway, I mean, they've done so many things to alter our consciousness and make things somewhat miserable and painful. Yeah, even though we're in a space where we're supposed to be experiencing duality, I think something's been hijacked and we've been pointed in the wrong direction. And that's, but then again, that does give us the option to experience healing and healing other people, which is a beautiful thing. Ultimately, it's all beautiful.
So the oldest known examples of the flower of life were believed to be those present in the Temple of Osiris in Abydos, Egypt. And, again, we recognize, there is an awful lot of hidden knowledge, in the Bible and in other non-canonical texts that did not get into the Bible, especially when you get into the Gnostic texts. Then there's an awful lot that's right there. There's a reason why people tend to favor the Gospel of John, because it's the most Gnostic-like and most beautiful. But when we look at it, so much of that knowledge is hidden through the Egyptian mystery schools as well. And, that's where Hermeticism blossomed a lot in Egypt, and then obviously over in Greece and the whole ancient world over there in the Mediterranean. And, were its origins perhaps Atlantean? That's one of the things I've been feeling as well. So, most archaeologists maintain that they're at least 6,000 years old, at least. Though, you got the mainstream ones that want to say, no, it's 2nd century AD. Because really what they want to do is they want to cover up the ancient knowledge. And as we've said before, there's been a lot of wars all over the planet, especially in the Middle East, where, there's a lot of stuff that, and Soul Reviver, and I forget what his new name is there, and in the chat, he's our brother Netsiah. He could attest because he was over there. He's seen firsthand what soldiers were instructed to do, as well as others I've had tell me the same thing. Part of it's not really just about even the oil and the resources. It's about hiding our history. They don't want us to know our real history. They don't want us to realize just how much knowledge we've had in the past, and what we really are and what we can achieve together. So they want to keep us in the dark. So, this is part of the sacred science. In my mind, this probably goes back to Atlantis and maybe even before. And so much of it had to go underground because of persecution by the powers that be, which give us, our fundamentalist mindsets, because the fundamentalist mindsets divide us. They keep us divided and conquered, as long as we don't understand the unity that underlies everything. And we think of it as being us and them, but we're the chosen people. Oh gosh, that whole thing to me has never made any sense. Why would the creator of everything have a single chosen race of people? That's the ego talking, right there. And the ego has nothing to do with source or our higher self at all.
No, it doesn't. And I know that's even in the smallest towns, you can see that there's 3 or 4 or 5 different churches, and in each one of those churches have slightly different belief systems, and each one of those belief systems thinks that theirs is the only way. I've never understood that. I never will.
And most definitely. So we see the tree of life imposed on the flower of life here. And it's beautiful. And so these are the different, we could look at them as different densities, dimensions, worlds. And it's all a way for us to basically conceptualize the reality of the cosmos that we are in, the matrix that we are in. And so, the Kabbalistic scriptures go into depth on this. There's a reason why astrology, has been studied forever because, again, it's tapping into the laws of the matrix. So it's not woo-woo, it's not fluffy, it's not silly, it's not stupid. No, everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected. And I think I want to jump a little bit when we talk. And the interconnectedness is quantum entanglement. So we understand how the quantum physics that we've been uncovering the last 100 years, it's really showing why the mystery schools were right all along, why a lot of the Eastern philosophies have been dead on, and they understood that. And I think that those are all leftover vestiges of the knowledge of Atlantis and other civilizations that were way more advanced than we are. How could they build some of these things? Well, because they understood the science. They understood the science. And at some point, science and spirituality become one. And we're learning that, and we're getting closer to that understanding, and that'll be the understanding of the next age that's coming. And we have been taught to be fearful of that quote-unquote new age that's coming. Yet, we're in the Kali Yuga. We've been in the dark age, and isn't it going to be great to get out of the dark age and into an age of light? Why would that ever be bad unless you were serving the dark side, and unless you were the dark side, perhaps even unknowingly?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of it too, is a lot of people unknowingly are entertaining the dark side. And, that doesn't make anybody bad. It just means that maybe you haven't been shown the truth. And I'm sure with any of us, when you know better, you do better. And that's just something to live by. We can't all know everything. And knowing that we have grown up and we've been taught by a very corrupted system that just wants to use our batteries for their own deeds. So that makes one stop and think, everything that I've learned prior to this, how true is it?
So as S.J. Carter says, they've been under attack by dark entities, wishes that they could remove them. And on EEARTS, there is a video, if you search for the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, that works. And I've done that to clear houses, clear buildings, when I worked for a paranormal society. And we did investigations all over the southeast of the United States. And after doing the investigations, if people wanted the place cleared, then I would clear it. And we can. And it's really just a matter of knowing really your power within, but you could also call upon benevolent energies such as the 4 archangels or other beings as well to clear it. So whether you call on Christ or Krishna, it's where your heart's at, and also where your will is at, that that you can drive out dark entities. So, that would be what I would recommend right there. And you just tell them to go. You just tell them to go and visualize it. And also you could use sage as well.
I would use them together with him.
Yeah, all of those things work well together. We'll do a video just on clearing dark energies. I think I did do one maybe a year or two ago, but we'll do another one.
I think that'd be a really good idea, because a lot of us unknowingly have them. We don't know, or sometimes we do, and we don't know how to get rid of them. And there are ways, there's processes, procedures, and sometimes things are a little bit different. But I do believe that there are standard things that are across the board that will change the ether, that will help you. And if you're consistent with them, they have to stay away. And it's about changing the ether.
It is. I see Kenny Crowder's in the house. Good to have you, Kenny. Much love there, brother. Dave Lewis in the house. I miss you. I miss you, Dave. He's one of the people that I would talk to on Facebook all the time. Now it's just a text here or there. So we miss you, brother Dave. So we have quantum entanglement, and that creates spooky action at a distance, which Einstein didn't like. But once there's entanglement, and again, scientists will tell you that we came about from a Big Bang. And, some people don't believe in the Big Bang, some people do. On the Big Bang theory, everything, all the matter in the universe was condensed into a small, tiny ball, perhaps no bigger than a marble, before it exploded into everything that we see. And we know most of everything we look at is just really a vacuum. It's empty. It's just empty. Most of it is a vacuum. When you think about an atom, think about the solar system. So you have the sun in the middle, and if you view the planets as electrons circling the proton and neutron in the center, at such a great distance, everything else is just all empty space, supposedly. It's really actually all the life force. It's all the chi that's all around us, this soup of life force and potentiality that we exist in. Because it's not really empty space. It's potentiality. It's just waiting for our attention. And our attention, it can affect and does affect everything. So at one point in time, all the matter of the universe was condensed into this tiny little, perhaps marble-sized or pea-sized ball of super dense material, and then boom, was exploded out into what we see and is ever moving outward, expanding constantly. And it's an amazing thing to think about. But the entanglement's there. And so in quantum physics, entangled particles remain connected so that actions performed on one affect the other, even when separated by great distances. This phenomenon so riled Albert Einstein, they called it spooky action at a distance, and he didn't like it. It just freaked with his mind, to put it simply.
It did. I remember reading about that. But this is such interesting stuff. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah, so it gets down to the fact that we are always projecting reality from us and from our consciousness, and not even really our brain, but our consciousness. For those of you that have had out-of-body experiences, you know that your consciousness goes on when you're out of the body. And I've had 3 friends that have died, and one for 35 minutes I shared was toe-tagged and on the way to the morgue when she popped back up and scared the crap out of them. But, our consciousness is still there. So when in that 35 minutes, she was watching everybody. She saw her family. She saw they were inconsolable, and she was trying to console them, like, I'm here. And then she felt herself being pulled away somewhere, and all of a sudden it was like she was just flying somewhere, and she couldn't see where. It was perfectly black. And then it was still perfectly black. And then all of a sudden she felt something hug her. And it was pure love. Now she took it to be Jesus. She never saw it. She didn't know if it was Jesus or God. She was Christian, so she was thinking in terms of Jesus. And it just gave her a hug and basically told her it's all right. And it said, you got to go back. And she was like, no, because she was embraced in this perfect, beautiful love. And she was like, no, I don't want to go back. No. And they told her, yeah, you have to go back because you're going to have 2 boys. And, one of them's going to grow up to be a very powerful politician in the world. And he's about 16, 17 now. And he is actually under the tutelage of a governor. And I'll just leave it at that. So he is being groomed for a political position. But it's just the case that, she was still fully conscious the whole time. Fully conscious, even though she was technically dead for 35 minutes. So consciousness goes on. And this is why we can work distance energy and make people feel good from a distance. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't matter in the least. And, for people that don't understand that, it could be mind-blowing. But entangled particles remain connected so that actions performed on one affect the other. So Cindy was touching tuning forks to parts of my body, and our friend was feeling it out on his body because I was sending the signal out to him, amplifying it.
Yeah, and we were bouncing back and forth, confirming each other. I would tell him, okay, I'm working on this spot, and he would say, wow, because I just felt something fly right through that spot. And this happened over and over and over. So Michael is making a really good medium for healing. So whatever I did on him happened to our friend, which was super, super cool to experience that today.
Yeah, most definitely. And so it looks like there's some good conversations there. And yeah, somebody says who would want to come back. But, many of us are on a mission here. We are on a mission. This is, why we are here, because we're here to try to help others and pick up others. So we see some of the symbols of sacred geometry there. And it's reflected in artwork around the globe. All around the globe we see it. The famous Vitruvian Man here, Da Vinci, as well, which also is making a pentagram. It was symbolizing the 4 elements and spirit. It's a beautiful thing. And think about the galaxies, the spiral. And we see the torus. And I think it was Ricky that brought up the energy of a torus. So, our energy body is shaped like a torus. So is the planets. And so is everything. This is that as above, so below interconnectedness of everything. It is. It's the mathematics on which this matrix is based.
And it's beautiful and it's mind-blowing, and I don't think one could learn this, in just a year. And that's why I think it really honestly should be taught from kindergarten and in depth. If we had children that were like that, we could teach from kindergarten in depth. Could you imagine how society would look and be? I know Native Americans, they would step back and look at their children and see what they were good at, and then they would groom their strengths, and they raised some pretty seriously awesome warriors. I wish we would go back to that.
And this gets into pi and the pyramid, and how the pyramid's based on pi, 3.16 going on for infinity there. It's all amazing. So if our natural, quote unquote, universe is all based on mathematics, what does that tell you? There's programming to this. It's programming. And, there's ratios in the human body that work out to pi as well. And, we see it in seashells when we look at this as well. And the spiral, the shape of the galaxy. It's all over nature. It is all over nature. It's a beautiful thing when we think about it. And it's reflected in all the different cultures around the globe. And I think that it's a misunderstanding when we look at some of the ancient artifacts and cave drawings and think that they were probably going around communicating like, No, I don't. I think all that is part of the myth that we've been sold. I think that really they were more just simply in harmony with nature and chose to live in a way that was in harmony with nature. So, when we're talking about, like, say, Neanderthals and Denisovans and Cro-Magnon, in many cases, they had bigger brains than we do. So, if brain capacity is any reflection on intelligence, then they would be smarter. And perhaps some other cultures were smarter because they understood that they don't need to have maybe as much creature comforts in some ways. And the need was more of a connectedness to nature and to the oneness of everything around us. And, that is a beautiful thing. So I'll have all these different links for you guys there as well. And, there is definitely, I don't think there's any way you could look at all these things and think there is not a creator. And so I do think there is, a great architect, a prime creator. And I think there are beings of very high vibrational frequency that carry out the plan and that actually go along basically terraforming and making things just right. Goldilocks, creating Goldilocks planets. Perhaps as certain solar systems are developing, well, maybe if we just moved this one planet, 60 million miles to this side, move this one over here, take that moon and put it over here, and voila, we have, now 3 life-bearing planets right there.
Isn't that interesting? That's really cool stuff.
Yeah. And so, what do you think about that? Is that ring true to you, Cindy?
Totally true to me. I mean, it's almost like common sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. And then I think also then we have, since it's a free will universe, we have those beings that are of service to themselves that swoop in and take advantage of things and give us situations like we have found on this planet where things are out of harmony. It's not that the creator is out of harmony, or the benevolent beings that are doing the work of the creator are out of harmony. It's just that we live in a free will universe which allows other beings to impose their will sometimes on others
For their own benefit, yeah.
and we do see that. So it's amazing when you look at this. And every single human being is a universe unto themselves. That's the reality. There's all these creatures living in you that view you as the universe.
They do, and we're important to them too.
And you're not just a single individual. You're a collective. And the sooner that we realize that we're all part of a collective, then we can move on to unity consciousness and start to manifest a new golden age where we're actually all working for the betterment of the whole. And we're not competing with each other to see who could hoard the most energy, who could hoard the most gold, who could acquire the biggest houses, who could be the most well-known person on the planet, or, break all the records, set all the records, whatever it is. That's all trappings of ego, which is all basically a lower vibrational frequency reality.
Well, but they glorified it though. So the saying used to be, or still is for some people, he who dies with the most toys wins. And they glorify that like that's some symbol of success, but it's maybe symbolic of success in this world, this 3D realm, which I don't see that as successful.
No, I don't either. It's very backward. As we see, we are nature. So we were talking about panentheism and as well as pantheism. In pantheism, God is nature, basically. God's in everything, and God is nature itself. And in panentheism, God created all of this and is in everything as well, including you and me and your dog and your kitty cat and your tomato plant that you have growing over there. God's in all that, but God is also ultimately above and beyond all the creation as well. And that could get us into Shaivism a lot as well, and I will do videos on that. I've been dying to get into, look into some of the different traditions out east as well, because they're very deep. I mean, very deep, so deep, and they really look at the mysteries of the universe in such a large way. It's just amazing. As here we look at a close-up of a small leaf, and the similarity with the blood vessels of a human heart, and then the river network of the Amazon. Again, this is showing us that fractal nature of everything.
Fractal, yet a beautiful pattern.
It is a beautiful pattern. So, I mean, it's a wonderful thing as well, as we look at, basically, you could recognize this. You've seen this in seashells as we look at that golden ratio. Oh, it's all about numbers. 369, right? Tesla. Reflected in everything. It's the pattern. It's the pattern of life. Absolutely beautiful thing. The golden mean, the divine proportion. In mathematics, the irrational number, and it gives you the formula there, which is approximately equal to 1.618. And so it's the ratio of a line segment cut into two pieces of different lengths, such as that the ratio of the whole segment to the ratio of the longer segment is equal to the ratio of the longer segment to the shorter segment. So the origin of the number can be traced back to Euclid, who mentions it as the extreme and mean ratio in the elements. Yeah, it's amazing. One of the things that always hit me is timing. Because when we look at it at certain times in history, it's as if these just amazing individuals choose to incarnate at the same time. And when you're looking at about 5 to 600 BC, you could extend that maybe to 700 BC, the brains, the amazing intelligences that came into existence at the same time, it's just amazing. When we're talking about, some of the Greek philosophers, you had obviously Plato and Aristotle, and you had all those minds going, but then you also had Confucius, and you had Lao Tzu, and we could go over into Persia as well and look at Zoroaster and the Mithraic mysteries, and there was and Buddha, and it was just an amazing bunch of people that came in. And I got to wonder if some of these people would be what we would call ascended masters as well, as far as giving us a glimpse into the sacred science that is there.
Yeah, I mean, it would be beautiful to see them come back and learn from them, and just know what all the secrets are. What is the truth? What do they know? How can we make our brains easier to navigate? How can we make our skin easier to be in? I know they know so many things, and I do think we'll see that in our lifetime. I do.
Yeah, there's been so many great masters that have come. Russell Phillips says, could you speak on how we might best touch others to look towards the higher path? It's one of those things that we each have to listen to our own inner calling, and for some people, it might be just one path, that leads you in a certain direction that fulfills you. And for me, I think in this life, it's been basically learning as much as I can about all the different traditions, and not necessarily taking one, but learning from them all, and then trying to show people that there's an underlying unity that you can find in all of them. And because just because, okay, we could say Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, doesn't mean that Krishna is not. It doesn't mean that Buddha is not. It doesn't mean that Zoroaster and Mithras and Dionysus and the teachings of Lao Tzu and so many others are not. Why would we think that the one true infinite creator would only give knowledge to one certain set of people, instead of come and spread it out? And the divine ones, the what we would call the ascended masters, the rishis of the Vedic world, they come to all people in different times, and they keep coming back time and time and time again, because the dark ones twist it and make it an ego trip by saying, oh, you're now one of us. You got the truth. It's us. It's just us that have the truth. We're the right ones. We're the chosen ones. And so that's where ego comes in, and separation. And, that's not going to lead to unity consciousness. And so everybody's got their own path, and it's a matter of finding what makes you tingle and vibrate from head to toe.
Yeah, that's super, super true. And it's the ones that say, my way is the only way, and see that guy over there, well, he's bad. Whatever you do, don't listen to him. I mean, that right there really, really should stop someone in their tracks, because if it's about love and teaching and growth and expansion, all should be welcome.
Most definitely. I mean, the one great fundamental underlying truth is ultimately that, we are all one. We're all part of something much, much bigger. And when we recognize that, and we start to live in harmony like that, I mean, we could learn a lot from ants and bees. Because when you look at ants and bees, they're not really, they're not working against each other. They're working with each other. They have that quote-unquote hive mentality. When we look at the law of one, which is channeled material from an entity called Ra, that's believed to be a sixth density from Venus, it's a collective, so that's a group that has found unity consciousness and gone up to a higher dimension, a higher density, higher vibrational frequency. And so they're living in what we would call pure bliss. because there's a oneness and a love that's being spread.
Yeah, and I think that's why they've done the trauma thing to us, where they've given so many of us PTSD, where we find it difficult to shed our issues and relax and trust one another and work with each other. And then there's people that are just so hurt that, the PTSD, it changes the brain. It changes your brain and it makes you very reactive. And that's something that I struggle with, and it's something that I hope to conquer, at least in this lifetime. It might take some time and it might take a lot of patience and some work on my part, but to reach the place of freedom on the other side, that's so well worth it.
So there was a good statement out there. Scratch says, "Do you know the link between 432 and the sun or the moon?" And so, one of the things they've done with our music is make it 440 and make it, disharmonious. And it's just one of those little dirty tricks, kind of like the English language, right? Mm-hmm. Spelling and good morning. Yes. I hope you have a good morning, So the sun, Saturn, Earth, and moon all exhibit ratios of the number 432. And so that's, again, another part of these mysteries, which are so cool. And there's so many things, as I see Nuke kissing Ricky out there, Nuke spreading the love. There's so many of these things that are hidden in plain sight if we look, basically.
Yeah, hidden in plain sight. And that's why a lot of beliefs that I have is, one of them is, I don't believe there is a veil. I think we just simply haven't seen things. And once they're pointed out to us, you can't unsee it.
Most definitely. So it's just a beautiful thing, ultimately. So guys, I want to thank you for joining us. It's already been an hour. Time flies by. And we'll go into a lot more depth with these things, these discussions as well. Truly, 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 we do live in a magical universe. It's an amazing magical universe. They've tried to convince us that it's not so, but it is. And it doesn't have to be the way it is here on this planet, or has been on this planet the last, several thousand millennia here. It's been a long time, but we are going to be returning to a higher vibrational state. It's already underway. And so the dark powers know that their time is short, and that's why they're doing this full court press right now. But hold your vibrations high, because ultimately we are going to come out in a much better place than where we've been.
Yeah, we will. Just, keep that in mind. Hold your vibration really, really high. Keep it up there. If you see the dark thoughts creeping in, just replace them. Replace them with something happy. You don't even have to believe it at the moment, but just replace them. And then where the mind goes, the energy is going to follow.
So as always, my friends, thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Much love. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being part of this family. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.